Okay, so I just built this narrow cabinet. It's 12 inches wide. And because it's so narrow, I have a different method for assembling it. I put the slides in the box before it's assembled. This is a frameless box. And you can see here, the drawers are narrow. And to reach in here and screw the slide, it's more difficult when you have a really tight space. So you can put the slides on first, and I'll show you how I do that exactly. Yeah, let's get to it. So here's the same cabinet, another one just like it. And what I do is, you'll notice here, this represents the drawer front. I don't actually have the drawer front right now, but I cut these pieces the exact size of my drawer fronts. This one's 11.5, and it's 1/8 of an inch down from the bottom. This is the bottom of the cabinet. So my first drawer front's 11.5. There's an 1/8 inch space, 10 3/4, and then 6.5. And what I do is at the bottom of the drawer front itself, I'll make a mark, okay, on the upper drawer front. And then the second drawer front, the same thing. So those marks are right at the bottom of the drawer front, each one. Now on the bottom one, I don't need to do that. That's done differently. Okay, so these are Gross slides. And what I do is, this is the front of the slide, this is the back where the notch is. And it is placed right on the line or just above. So you want to be about 1/16 of an inch above. So what you do is you measure this distance here, and you cut a scrap piece of wood to represent that. And I'll show you what I've already made. I have this piece here, okay? And what I do is I just push that up against it, and now this is located. And you want to be, on this particular slide, is 1/4 inch back. So once you've marked, you don't need these anymore. And you would basically put that right up against the 1/4 inch mark on your combination square, flat up against there, and then put a screw in the first one. A self-centering bit if you want to, like this. Okay. This is 3/32, I think. And mark that first hole. Or you can just stab it in yourself without bothering with the countersink. Because if you've got a good eye, you can probably hit the center of that hole no problem. Okay? And that's all you would do. And you want to go back here, maybe pull this forward, make sure it's seated up against, and this is seated up against. Mark that next hole, okay? The self-centering bit is of help. I use it, but I don't even like punch it all the way in. I just go a little bit, just enough to mark the hole. Take that more. Do another one. This next one, I have this jig. So one thing I did is I made a mark here. I think this was easier just to make that 1/4 inch mark as to where the slide goes up to. And then I don't need to hold this in place the whole time and hold both of them. So basically you can put this tight up against the slide. Either it's probably best to put this near the front where I can hold my finger there to hold everything tight, and just slide this back to be on my 1/4 inch mark. I can kind of push this in the hole and up against that and make sure that's lined up there, and then pre-drill my first hole. 7 by 3/4 flathead screws, and just make sure that you're not spinning the screw and you're adjusted good with your clutch. And then go in the back and do the same thing. Hit one of those holes. I kind of like doing this self-centering bit because there's no thinking involved. You just stab it in there. So this one, I just kind of make a mark. It's more of a mark to self-center it than a full depth hole. And we're good with that one. I have a jig that is shaped like an L here, okay? This represents the bottom of the cabinet that's gonna go on afterwards. So there's a bottom here that runs into here, and this is just a little bit taller, so there's no chance of the slide being too far that way. What I do is make that 1/4 inch mark for the front of the slide, and then use this jig here to hold the slide up 13/16 of an inch. Countersink. Okay, just like that. And then there's a bump here, so we'll push in that area. We'll pull this out. We're gonna slightly pre-drill into this pre-finished plywood. And then we're gonna plunge in the 7 by 3/4 screw. Careful not to spin it. Let's go to the next one at the back. We just punch another hole, a little starter hole. Make sure we're centered on that. And there we go. Okay, so this side is fully done. I'm gonna lay down the next, the other side. Okay, so on this side, we're gonna work from the opposite side with our jigs because one's a left and one's a right. Okay, and put that right up against there. We drill a quick self-centering hole. That's also called VIX, a VIX bit. They're the manufacturers of they're kind of like the known self-centering bit, the high-end one. Or should I say the good one? I don't know if they're really that high-end. Get this one, and then one back. And I always work from the front of the box, and this is the tab is always in the back on the slide, so you know what's front and back, obviously. Okay, that's the bottom one. And I made a mistake. The bottom one has to be done last. No big deal. Let's undo this. Because I have a jig that works from the bottom. And at least the holes are all there. I'll be able to just pop it right back in. So on the one in the middle, we use this jig. So I use this and I make that 1/4 inch mark where I know the slide's gonna be. I take the slide itself. So I wanna be on the non-bump portion of the slide, but there is a bump here and there's a bump here, so I'm trying to keep this on the flat part of the slide, okay? I have my mark in front. Let's do the countersink. Okay, one through. Bring this forward. Do the next one. Make sure it's tight. We'll get there. Okay. Next. Okay. And the top one. Maybe this is better because there's no bumps. You know what? To be honest, that next time I think I'll make the other one from here. Then I don't have to worry about the bumps. Yeah. See, even I learn as we go. Okay. Good deal. All right, let's mark it. 1/4 inches. Okay, okay. You know what? I like this technique a little bit better. Hold that up there. But hopefully we all learn from this, and we just keep learning as we do it. Okay. Okay, there we go. Yes. Back to the same hole, I don't need my jig. Whoops, got it wrong, I need to grab the screw guns. Oh boy, there we go. Okay. I'll admit, that was a little bit of spinner, so I'm going to run in there, lessen my torque a little bit, careful. Okay. So for assembly, I have my side and my bottom ready, and I'm ready with a countersink bit. This time I'm going to use the pointy one, which last week I said don't use. It works fine. Sometimes it seems like it's following the grain or the plywood layers. What do we have? We have that. I use an impact driver, and by the way, this, I might have said this before, but this one, look at that. It's hydraulic driver. So it's not a real noisy impact driver. It's one of the quietest ones out there. So that's why I like it. And this 12 volt is plenty of power for cabinet assembly. You don't need an 18 volt for a cabinet assembly. You don't even really need to hang the cabinets. I love my 12 volt Milwaukees, okay? All right, the front. So the slide will not drop out on you weird. And actually that slide kind of helps hold it in place a little bit. About 3/4 inch down. Okay, and then you do the same on the bottom. You don't need any special jigs. I don't know who told you that. Okay. But there is one tool that you do want, a persuasion hammer. Sometimes you gotta tap this a little bit. The other reason for the persuasion hammer is sometimes this is a little high, so you want to drop it a little bit. So you put a shim under there, you tap a hair. Don't hit your finger like I did. Okay, you're good. Now you can use your countersink. I'll go about 1.5 inches or so down. And I measure this the distance of the screw. In a base cabinet, I put 4 screws. It's my typical number of screws. I don't think more is needed. Okay. Now, if you wanted to, you could probably nail on the other side and do this. I like to do one side at a time, make sure it's secure before going over to the next side. Got my 1 5/8 screws. The impact driver. You'll notice it's not an ear raper. Just make sure it's pulling in. Sometimes you have to go a little deeper than you think to suck in the two. Okay, we're good. And then you simply go to the other side. Okay, so now I'm going to grab the other side, which is right here. It's a little heavy with these slides on there. And you want to make sure you've got the back in the correct orientation, like that. Okay. Have your nail gun ready, which I kind of didn't. So reaching around, grabbing that. Okay. Make them somewhat parallel first. Okay. Okay, and then a nail down here. Sometimes you have to reach in and push it out. We're good. Honestly, not that hard. And then when you're good, everything's good there, go ahead and countersink. Okay, next one. On that line. Okay, 1 5/8 screws. The top is actually what I call stretchers, 2 stretchers. You could put a full top, but it's a little easier with a stretcher to reach in here when you're done and to attach the drawer fronts, especially the top one. They actually go this way. This is the back stretcher, towards the back I mean. And then the one on the top, I'm pretty good about holding it in the middle of the air without any jigs or anything in general. Okay, it's pretty good. Needs a little bit of adjustment, but nails are bendable. One thing you don't want to do is put a nail into your thumb, so make sure you got it right if you're going to be silly like me. All right. Bendable. That's why we use nails. I'm going to go use my left hand. I'm not really ambidextrous, but not too bad. I felt that time, like follow the plywood grain like I was telling you. At least that's what I think. Let's flip it over for the back. Carefully don't slam it down because the slides will fall out. There we go. Okay, back goes on there. We're going to switch this out to the staple gun instead of the nail gun. And now using the staple gun, we'll put the back on. That's what squares it up. I know I've said it before, but sometimes people only watch one video. So let's flush this up in the back at the bottom here. Okay, there's a little bit of an edge there, which is fine. Maybe I can turn this so you can see as I do this. So I want to basically move this over as I go and flush it up. Okay, so let's flush it up. It's flush here, so it's flush there. And we pull it over a little bit more and kind of hold it there. Looks good. Okay, spin it around. Top looks pretty good. It's a little overhang there more than here. But like I said before on something else, if you want perfection, get yourself a CNC, I guess. I don't have one. This is pretty good. So you want to try and keep the same reveal as you go. And the only thing I could do is pull this in or push it out. And it looks like might need just a hair of pushing in, but not much of any. Okay. And then go through and using the infamous countersink, finish the job off. I'm probably overkill on screws, but rather overkill than underkill, right? Let's finish this off. I felt it like pull the screw at an angle this way with this pointy bit. It's not my favorite. Spill them on there and I'll just use the impact driver. Sometimes I use that drywall screw gun. But hardly takes it's faster, but honestly, not that much. It's kind of fun to use, but slows me down to run and get another tool. Okay. So that's it with the back. It's all squared up. And we'll stand it up here, get a look at it. I think that's a lot easier than trying to put the slides in and reaching back to put the screws in. I think that's just simpler. Tell me what you think. And now we'll put the drawers in and the drawer fronts. I'm going to briefly show how the clips on the drawers work for the undermounts. And this is the Grass or Gross version brand. So there's a clip that goes on the back and it gets screwed on. So I use 6 by 5/8 screws for mounting the clips. The drawer gets notched for it. Unless you don't have the back doesn't come down all the way, then you don't need to notch it. And in the front are these 2 clips. You can see if the drawer was narrower, we have like maybe another 2 inches we can go. I think this is 10 and a little bit. And then it gets the screws in the front to hold it there. Okay? Mainly what I want to show though is how the clip is adjustable. So if you look close, you'll see this is the lever to take it on and off. This moves this piece, which will move the slide. And then this moves this little component back and forth, which makes it go left and right. I'm going to put in the slide and hopefully that'll show that a little bit better. So let me show you when the slide is on there. This goes all the way forward, okay? And then that hook right there seats inside that opening. So this will raise the slide, which will raise the drawer in the back. So see that comes up, okay? And then the other way comes back down. Okay, that's how that works in the back. I like this system to raise the drawer in the back. And then the clip, this you can see will show the slide itself moving. This slide, you can barely see it, is moving this way when I rotate this way. And then it goes the opposite direction when I go like that. So that moves the drawer front left and right. And then, here, let's put it in the center. There's little arrows here that indicate center. This piece right here will slide using this. So I'm going to go to this side to show that. Well, the drawer goes the other way, so it actually goes up. So that raises and lowers the slide itself. Not a whole lot, but enough. So hopefully that helps understand these clips. I like these clips because they've got this cast metal part, unlike the Salicis. They're really stout. This company these come from Austria. And then this right here, when you push that, it disengages this here and you're able to pull the slide out and out of the cabinet. So that moves forward and hooks in there. So there's right and left clips. And then for the back clips, same thing. You see the R for right and L for left. For these grass slides, it's an 1 3/8 opening or notch. This hole is not needed. That's for other slide brands. And this has a little lip on the bottom, this very thin piece of plastic that kind of helps guide it. And this just goes all the way up against the side here. If you want to be super accurate, you'll manipulate that correct and then just do a quick pre-drill on that. Maybe the first 2 screws. Use the 6 by 5/8 screws for mounting. Don't necessarily have to use the VIX bit or the self-centering bit. And then we'll go over to this side and do the other one. And this time I won't even use the self-centering. Just as long as you hold it there and you stab in the center of that hole, you should be good. Okay, that's how those go on. Pretty simple. The front clips, this end goes against the side there. Same with that one. And you can see on these drawer boxes, they made sure not to put the this hot glue where the clips go. I use the same size screw, 6 by 5/8. I personally don't pre-drill for them because I'm going into plywood. It should be fine. Okay, you want to make sure that remains flat. If for some reason you went at too high of an angle like this, you might force it up, so try to keep it at a lower angle into there. Go at a shallow angle if you can. Get that in there. And the other one. Keeps this all nice and flat. And that's it. It's ready to put into the cabinet box. Do the next 2 the same way. Okay. My bottoms are 1/4 inch, so I can't screw into that. Sometimes I do 1/2 inch bottoms, so I could screw into the other holes that go into the 1/2 inch bottom. And the next 2. Everything should work well. I like the way they seat. And these slides are smooth. I mean, listen to that. Exactly, you can't hear it. Okay, here's the top one. It's just behind the face, which is perfect. Works good. Beautiful. Those were my red marks. Like I said, I put the slide, the bump, either even or just above the bottom of the drawer front. I don't have the drawer fronts right now, but as soon as I get them in, we'll mount them. So there was 2 cabinets like that, the one on the right there and the one we just did. My next thing is I always put skids on my cabinets. I hang this a little bit past, about 3/4 past, for when I mount my drawer fronts. I need something for them to rest on. So that's the way I do it. So for this, I just use 1 1/4 inch staples. I make sure I look at the side as I'm doing it so I don't hit the screws that are on the side. And I go about halfway over the side and just use 3 staples. Do the same on this side. Halfway, it doesn't matter too much. Make sure I don't hit the screw. Okay. And that's my, what I call a skid. And then I take a pointy bit, stab a little bit of a hole, pre-drill for my tacks, for these things, tacks. And that way you can slide them around your shop. You don't have to do this, but for me, when I have a lot of cabinets roaming about, it's good for protecting the bottom edge. and sliding them around in your shop to move them around. And that's it. And then I will put it down on the ground. And I can slide it about pretty easy, okay? I just now got done putting the drawer fronts on. And then on all my drawers, what I've done is I use screws. A small drawer might get 3 screws. And this is pre-drilled. So I'm going to show you the pre-drilling that I do over here on this cabinet that I've started. So what I do here, I use this bit here and I make sure it extends into my drawer front about 1/2 inch. But first I pre-drill through, and then I do that to all the drawer fronts. Okay, pre-drilling those holes, getting them ready. Make sure they go into the rails here so they don't go into this area, obviously. And then I have 1/8 inch shims which sit on top of these little feet because these skids are put on, and I've assembled these before I even get my drawer fronts. And then I use this and put the shims, whatever distance it is. In this case, I'm going just a hair under 1/8 of an inch because the company made my drawer fronts a hair big. So then what I do is I put the drawer front on there. Actually, the center grain goes horizontal. So I'll put that on there and start with the bottom one. I'll remove this drawer so I can reach from behind and again use the same countersink to drill into here, and then use a 8 by 1 inch screw to secure the drawer fronts. I'll show 1 or 2 so you get the idea. So I just take out the these drawer fronts. I'm sorry, these drawer boxes. Okay. And then with the first drawer front, center it on the box, usually on the bottom, because sometimes these boxes are a little cattywampus, so I base it on the bottom because that's where the slide is. So I center it on the box. These boxes, because they're frameless, see how they kind of wiggle around? Don't worry about that in this stage of the game. You're first going to want to put that on there. So it's centered on the bottom portion. You reach in and you've already know where that hole is. You can tell you can feel it with your finger or whatever. You reach in there with the same countersink that you used. You stab it in that hole, and you're pulling the drawer front to the drawer box to the drawer front, and then you pre-drill that one. Then you grab your screw gun, you grab your 1 inch screw, you put that in there, then reach in behind, and from there you could pull it out, finish attaching it, put that back in there for the other one. Okay, the drawer box is closed. The 1/8 of an inch shim is underneath on the outside here. And it's like I said, you reach in there, you know where this hole is. You reach in there, just like that, holding everything kind of clamped. Kind of doing it by braille. Take your screw, put it in there first is usually the easiest. Manipulate your screw gun correctly. And there you go. And then you pull it out and check it out. If you need to screw it in any more, you would do that. And then what I do is I put additional screws over here, just like that. I do it at a slight angle to make sure I reach the style of the drawer front. Okay. Grab my 1 inch screw. And then you do the same on this side. Or you simply just clamp the drawer front to the drawer box like shown in this picture. And then you can easily pull the drawer out and attach it, pre-drill and attach it with the screws. as opposed to my awkward method of doing it by quote unquote braille. Anyways, they both work. This one's easier. Didn't quite sync well. These Phillips screws, by the way, I know a lot of people hate them for this exact reason. They get real buggered real fast. I don't know if you can see that. See? You can just grab a new screw. That one got bite. Okay. So I do the exact same thing with the next drawer. I put the drawer in. I put my 1/8 of an inch shims on the lower drawer front. I put the next drawer front on. I line it up with the drawer front below it because the box itself is a little unreliable. But the drawers themselves stay in a line. If that makes sense, okay? And maybe I'll show that on the next one, but here we go. That's good. And I reach in with this. I've gotten used to this particular angle. I kind of hold it upside down and I kind of manipulate it around to get the right grip. Check my alignment and then drill straight into the drawer front. Grab your 1-inch screw, 8x1. Use this. And then, once you're in a little ways, or almost all the way, you can pull it out and just finish. Okay, bring it back, and then do the other side. Make sure your shim's still underneath your drawer front. Reach in there. Pre-drill. Boom. 1-inch screw. Impact. Because you're going into oak, you're not going to want a wimpy screw gun, and you want strong screws too. That's good. It's going to get 2 more screws down here. Using a 1-inch screw. Okay. And then the one down on this side. You want to make sure your drawer front's seated good against the box. Pre-drilling is vital to not crack your drawer fronts. And then we throw in the next drawer. Might be easier to pull these out a little bit. Okay. And then shims. Looks like I missed pre-drilling one here. Let me do that real quick. And right there. Throw a couple screws in there. Put this on there, line it up with the drawer front below it, and then you have to reach inside and pre-drill. I got 3 screws, okay? And what I was trying to say earlier is that you first center it on the box. The box sometimes, because they're frameless, they move around, right? But these drawer fronts can be moved a little bit left and right. So first I just line them up on themselves, okay? Even though when you push, it looks like they go out of alignment. There's enough adjustment that I can move those left and right. Worst case is I re-drill a couple of holes. I'm not worried about it. But for the most part, I haven't had to do that with this method here of lining up the drawer fronts and not like worrying about the flexibility of the cabinet itself. So thank you so much for watching the video. If you got something out of it, please let me know, and subscribe if you're not already subscribed, or hit the bell if you want to be notified of future videos. The cabinet that you saw in this video, I'm showing it here at the end as far as what it looked like when we installed both cabinets, and a sink cabinet in that particular bathroom. And if there's any comments you have on this video, please put them in the comment section. So thanks again. See ya.